Well, hello everyone. Here is this year's first scooter test, which isn't really surprising since the weather is nice. Scooter season is here, and we don't have to worry about the sky constantly pouring down on us anymore. So the first scooter that I need to show you has finally arrived. I've ridden it a bit, I have an opinion on it, and I have a lot of experience to share with you. This video will follow our standard format. First, unboxing and assembly, then the specs, then I'll give you a tour of the scooter, and finally, I'll tell you exactly what it was like to use. So let's talk about the assembly process. Obviously, I'm not talking about the kind of complex assembly where we take apart and rebuild a Chinese scooter, but rather the simple kind when we unbox it and take it out for the first time. Yeah. And there's really not much to it, and it doesn't take long at all, because all you have to do is fold up the steering column, securely mount the handlebars, attach the central unit along with the dashboard, and the scooter is basically ready to use. Again, quite obviously, you have to pay close attention to a lot of things during the process, like properly adjusting the brakes for safety. If you want what's best for yourself and want to use the scooter long term, you need to make sure the points where metal meets metal and moves are well greased. So you have to pay attention to these things. But basically, the initial setup is really just putting the handlebars in place, attaching the instrument, and you're good to go. Specifications. Well, this scooter is labeled everywhere as if it were 1400 watts, but it is noted that this is the scooter's peak power. Its actual power is around 1000 watts. At least that's the kind of information I found about it. So this is a 1000 watt scooter. With the motor built into the rear wheel, as is usually the case, we have two disc brakes, and both disc brakes are mechanical. And if I remember correctly, the torque this motor can produce is 28 Newton meters. So it's a relatively good scooter in that regard, but not exceptionally so. The manufacturer claims you can travel 90 kilometers on a single charge, which obviously isn't true, but I'll get into that. Its top speed out of the box as it arrives is 25 kilometers per hour. However, this scooter can also be unlocked just like most scooters, and then it won't go at 25, but much faster than that. Of course, this depends on whether you're on an incline or a decline, and what your weight is, your body weight. So it depends on many things. The point is, the top speed won't be 25. I'll talk about this too. Something I haven't mentioned yet is the weight of the scooter, which is around 30 kilos as usual. 32, if I recall correctly. The wheels are inflatable, of course, and they're 11 inches in size, but they're not tubed, so there's no inner tube, which I think is great for puncture resistance. And what's also important is that besides the mechanical disc brakes, there's an electric motor brake as well, so we get relatively good braking performance. Naturally, the handlebars can be folded down and back, making it easy to transport. Because of its weight, this scooter isn't really meant for carrying up to the 3rd or 4th floor multiple times a day without a lift, or for taking it on the metro. So this is a get-on-and-go type for covering relatively long distances. You pull into a P+R parking lot, park your car, hop on the scooter, and head into the city. So it's great for that kind of thing, rather than using it to supplement public transportation. All right, so we've done the unboxing, we've gone over the basic specs, and now I'm going to show you what the scooter itself is like. Well, as usual, I'll try to focus on the more interesting aspects of the scooter, because there are some things that aren't really that interesting, honestly. For instance, take a look at the tires, which, as you can see, have a standard city tread pattern. So the manufacturer didn't specifically design these for off-road, but rather for city streets and urban use. The rear swing arm is not particularly interesting either, though I would definitely like to note that compared to, say, the Kukirin G2 or G4, I really like that there are no sharp bends in the swing arm, so there is a very good chance it will not buckle or fail like those two scooters did. They even had to reinforce the swing arm on the newer versions, if you remember, because it was prone to buckling. The suspension and shock absorption are identical to those on all other such scooters, as is the case with the front wheel, because it's a very standard C-type suspension. As you can see, there's nothing extra to note here. Like I mentioned before, the brake is a standard mechanical disc brake, so there is nothing really extra to see here either. What I like is that they put the charging port way up here on the top, so water doesn't easily splash into it. It's not in the usual spot on the side, but right up here, so I think that's actually a pretty cool and clever design. Now, let's jump right up to the handlebars. I'll show you exactly what's going on here and everything that we find. So of course we have a brake lever, we have turn signals for both left and right, and we have a horn. Moving to the middle, we have a central instrument cluster, and we have a button group, plus a throttle lever and another brake lever on this side too. What's interesting about this specific scooter is that you actually can't just turn it on normally. It's great that I'm visible in it and not the dashboard, but I'll talk more about that later. The point is, even if you've turned on the dashboard, you won't see anything on it yet because there are two NFC cards here, and you use these to bring the dashboard to life. If the dashboard worked normally and everything wasn't reflecting in it, you'd find all sorts of data on it. Distance traveled since power on and distance traveled since you first put the scooter into service. And there's a speedometer and all sorts of things. So basically everything is on there. It's just that, well, you can't see it. I think you can pretty much see here that, well, you are mostly just seeing the camera in it. And the really good news is that whenever you're actually riding it, you definitely do not see yourself in it at all. So they could really come up with something for this by now. Still haven't managed it. The dashboard looks really cool in the dark, but whatever. Another important feature to note is that we have the power button, along with a plus button and a minus button. Using the plus button, we can easily increase the power, and with the minus button, we can decrease it. It features three distinct modes. There is a race mode, a sport mode, and an eco mode. And each one of these comes with a different maximum top speed as well as a different motor power, which is a very, very good thing because it means the manufacturer isn't simply playing around with the top speed, but also with how powerful the scooter is. So for beginners, this eco mode is absolutely great because the scooter won't run away from under them. However, it's important to know that the lower the power, of course, the less this scooter will be able to climb up hills. So if a steep hill comes your way, you'll be forced to shift up a gear. This scooter also has a hidden menu where you can unlock it. As usual, I won't tell you how to unlock it. I've written it down in the article. I don't support unlocking scooters, so I'd rather not talk about it. If you still want to, you can find it in the article. Written down how to do it, and anyway, you can find plenty of information about this in many places on the net. What is also important to understand regarding these two buttons is that one button is used to turn on the light, while the other button is for starting the walk mode. You see, if you hold this down, the scooter will roll beside you at 6 kilometers per hour, which is especially good when you have to go up a hill. Lighting. Since I've already turned on the light, well, here in the front we have one projector lamp with 4 LEDs. It actually has a really good light and the height is adjustable too, so this scooter can be set up really well. The rear light is in its usual place. And if I pull the brake, it flashes because it also functions as a dedicated brake light. What I definitely have to point out here is that while this isn't actually required in Hungary just yet, it might very well be mandatory in the near future. There's also a place for a license plate. This is already an important factor in Germany. There has to be one of these, and also what's very, very important and related to the lighting are two things. One thing is this side strip here, which looks really cool and makes the scooter very visible in the dark. The other important thing is the turn signal, and the manufacturer put the turn signal at the end of the handlebar, which was a great move, if only because in Austria, for example, you can no longer use a scooter that doesn't have a turn signal at the end of the handlebar. So this scooter is a really good choice there too, from that perspective. Regarding this turn signal, I definitely have to say that I don't understand why they put these caps on the end of the handlebar, because if there were no cap, you could see the turn signal flashing perfectly from the side, but this way you can only see it from the front and back. But speaking of the handlebar and things I don't like, this isn't what I dislike the most, but rather the placement of the throttle lever. I definitely have to say that this throttle lever design is one of the better ones. I prefer it over the thumb press throttle lever. You can manage and regulate the motor power much more accurately and precisely. And in that sense, I believe that it is a truly excellent solution. However, what I don't like about it is the specific placement. As you can clearly see, these two units are integrated right here, the brake lever and the throttle. However, whenever I pull the throttle, my finger somehow always slips off after a short while and ends up stuck right here directly between the throttle and the brake lever. And when I'm using the throttle and I pull the brake, I end up pulling the throttle at the same time. So this feels quite a bit unusual and strange to me. Obviously, it's something you can gradually get used to, because if you only use your fingertip on the throttle while using the brake, then it actually works out perfectly fine, but you definitely have to get used to it. The good news to keep in mind regarding this setup, though, is that this is the front brake, and this one is the rear brake. So if having the throttle and brake together like this is uncomfortable, you'll just use this one instead. And since you're using the rear brake, you won't fall on your face during emergency braking. So I think this is definitely a good thing in that sense, even if it's a result of this part being a bit poorly designed, in my opinion. Now, what else should I mention? It's foldable, of course. This latch hooks in right here at the back, and then you'll be able to carry the scooter. We have a nice big heel rest here, which is also really great to have, and it is made entirely of solid metal, so it definitely won't break off. What I really don't like about this design, though, is the deck itself, because there is absolutely no rubber coating or any kind of grip tape on it at all. It is just like this. It is this specific kind of hard, scratchy plastic material, which I think will very likely get scratched up pretty quickly because, well, this is exactly where we have to stand. Obviously, it's good for cleaning, because if it gets dirty, you just wipe it down with a damp cloth. But in the long run, I don't think it's a great solution, so I'm not a fan of this part. I don't like the throttle, and you can't see the dashboard in direct sunlight. Otherwise, I'm satisfied with everything, and everything else is great. The braking power is also perfectly fine. It's completely okay. I didn't even have to adjust it when it arrived. Everything was set up perfectly. So yeah, that's about it. So I'll show you once more what the scooter looks like from the outside, and well, you'll also see what it looks like in the B-roll footage. I think it looks really sharp. These plastic elements they added are exceptionally well designed. They make the scooter look even more robust and powerful. I would, however, like to point out that these are indeed plastic parts, and since they're made of plastic, if you hit them, if the scooter happens to fall over onto its side, or if you bang it against something hard, these parts might break. So that's certainly not an ideal situation for the rider, but on the other hand, it does look quite good. Okay, so now that we have covered the aesthetics, we can get back to the topic of what it was actually like to use this scooter. Well, there are usually three things everyone is interested in: how it goes, how far it goes, and what the C suspension is like. And I'll start with the latter. Unfortunately, this C suspension isn't perfect either, because if you look at the line of the steering column, it unfortunately ends up behind the axle, which means it pushes the wheel in front of it, and so it can be relatively prone to speed wobbles. I definitely have to point out that the factory speed limit is 25 kilometers per hour, and up to 25 kilometers per hour I haven't experienced any speed wobbles, so for that reason alone, I don't recommend unlocking the scooter, because under 25 kilometers I feel this scooter is safe. The suspension is good otherwise, the springing is appropriately stiff even under my 90 plus weight, but well, it's adjustable. The manufacturer says the scooter can be loaded up to 130 kilos. So if you have a higher body weight, you can adjust it. If it's lower, you can also adjust it to make it right. The brakes up to the speed of 25 kilometers per hour are perfectly fine in my opinion, as these mechanical disc brakes have adequate braking power. Their modulation isn't great because they're mechanical, but otherwise up to this top speed there's no problem with them, and as I said, there's also an electric brake in the rear wheel. The two together produce really excellent braking power. So if you don't unlock the scooter, I consider this part absolutely safe as well. The manufacturer says you can go 90 kilometers with it. Well, I honestly don't think that you can go a full 90 kilometers. But looking at the data and my own calculations, I can say that 40 kilometers is a much more realistic goal, especially if you use it in a slightly more forced mode. Obviously, if there's no strong headwind pushing against you, no steep hills, and you're not at top speed constantly, but riding very carefully and quite gently, you'll go much further. But I don't like predicting or giving specific exact numbers, because again, it depends on your weight, your speed, the weather, and how cold or hot it is at the time. So it really depends on different external factors. I would say that it's safe to assume that the charge in the battery is enough to cover 40 to 45 kilometers. And then the top speed. Well, as I said before, when it is locked, it is 25 kilometers per hour, but unloaded and unlocked, the top speed the scooter can reach is 50 kilometers per hour. Obviously, if you are a heavier individual, it certainly won't go 50, but realistically, a speed of about 40 kilometers per hour is definitely achievable. I think for this specific scooter, And generally for scooters in this category with C suspensions, 40 is a bit much. So I would not go 40 kilometers per hour with these if I did not absolutely have to. I would say about 30 to 35 is much better for most people, but 35 is really the absolute maximum. So 35 would be the definitive limit where I would say these scooters are absolutely good, stable, and perfectly safe to ride. As you've seen so far, well, this scooter hasn't turned out to be completely flawless either. There are a few minor things in this one too that I could potentially nitpick. But generally speaking, I can say it's exceptionally good and very comfortable to use. It was truly great to use and great to ride, and I never felt in any danger. The motor controller is very good. It doesn't ever want to run away from under you. Even when you are using the highest power setting available, it still doesn't want to run away from under you, so it can be used safely. Obviously, it's a scooter. Obviously, the wheels are small, so you have to pay attention to that. It's mostly for asphalt, hard surfaces, if only because of the tire tread, but it's perfect for that. So if you're looking for a scooter that's equipped with all sorts of great lighting features, is capable of reaching speeds between 25 to 30 kilometers per hour, which I think can be used safely with these scooters in the long run, and you want to ride it quite a bit, then I would definitely recommend this scooter to you. It's no worse at all. In fact, well, after this much use, I might even dare to say that it seems to represent a slightly better quality than the Kukirin scooters. I haven't taken it apart, I haven't looked inside, so from that point of view I can't judge, but in terms of use, assembly, choice of materials, and looks, I like it better than the Kukirin scooters. So from this point of view as well, it's worth checking out this scooter, considering it, putting it on your list if you're looking for a scooter like this. Of course, I've also written an article about it. You can find the link to the article under the video on YouTube. You'll find a coupon code under the video, and you'll also find a link where you can buy it. I'm very grateful that I could test this scooter too, and now these few weeks will be about scooter tests. So next week you can see another scooter, and in 2 weeks a third one, so there'll be plenty to watch if you're interested in this kind of content. Subscribe, come back, like, comment on the video, and if you like this video, then choose from the other 2 videos appearing next to me. Check those out too. So be good, take care of yourselves, and we'll meet again next week. Bye everyone.